Have you ever wondered what could happen behind the closed doors of a perfect marriage? Perhaps each of us has secrets, confidences that are difficult to say. Today, I would like to share the story of an anonymous female viewer, a confession that I believe will touch the hearts of many people. The story of a seemingly perfect marriage, but rotten from the inside, and the time she searched for vitality and passion outside. If you are curious to know, please support me by liking, subscribing, and sharing. That really means a lot to me. Let's go back in time with me to the years of marriage that I thought were enough, but turned out to be the beginning of uncontrollable desires. We got married young, Ben and I. He was the kind of man every girl's parents dreamed of, kind, dependable, with a stable job and devoted to family. My own parents were thrilled with him, and I genuinely believed that a stable life with Ben would be my peaceful harbor. In those early years of marriage, our life flowed smoothly, like a calm river. We had a cute little house, well-behaved kids, and a materially comfortable life. But that calmness slowly, gradually morphed into something stagnant. Ben was a good husband, no one could deny that. He always fulfilled his responsibilities, always cared for the family, but his care felt like a duty, a habit, not a spark, not passion. Our evenings usually passed in silence, each of us doing our own thing or maybe watching TV together. Our conversations revolved around the kids, work, the everyday grind of bills and groceries. We rarely shared our deepest feelings, our secret dreams, the longings of our hearts. Have you ever felt like you were living in a sealed box, everything neat and organized but lacking air, lacking light? That was exactly how I felt in my marriage with Ben. He loved me in his way, a placid, safe love, but it lacked intensity, it lacked adventure, it lacked surprises. I craved those things, yearned to feel alive, yearned to experience different emotional highs and lows. The signs of change started to appear, not from Ben but from within myself. I began to feel restless, uneasy, as if some wild animal was stirring inside me. I started paying more attention to my appearance, working out, dressing nicer, putting on more makeup. Not to attract Ben but to feel more confident, more alluring, to reaffirm that I was still a desirable woman, not just a wife, not just a mother. I also began seeking out social connections outside the family, joining clubs, community activities, making new friends. I wanted to expand my world, wanted to find exciting things, new things, things that my marriage couldn't offer. These changes unfolded slowly, but they were gradually shaping who I was becoming, and leading me down paths I'd never imagined. I started to realize that the calmness of my marriage in reality was holding me back, and I needed to break free from it, to truly live in accordance with my desires. The dullness of my marriage grew heavier, like an invisible weight pressing down on my shoulders. I felt like I was slowly dying in the familiarity, in the repetition of those quiet days. Ben's thoughtfulness, instead of moving me, started to feel suffocating, as if he were imprisoning me in a gilded cage. I craved something different, something stronger, something forbidden. The first man who led me astray was a colleague at work named Nick. He was younger than me, vibrant, funny, and knew exactly how to flirt with a woman. Those lunch breaks together, the water cooler chats, the playful texts, they all made my heart flutter. I loved the way he looked at me, his gaze admiring, longing, so different from Ben's familiar, placid eyes. The first time we crossed the line was at a company party. After a couple of glasses of wine, I felt myself becoming bolder, more liberated. Nick pulled me aside to a secluded corner of the ballroom and kissed me. It was a clumsy kiss, but full of passion, awakening every sense within me. I felt like I was free-falling, no longer in control of myself. The forbidden, the guilt, the excitement, all mixed together, creating an indescribably intoxicating feeling. After that night, our relationship became secret and dangerous. Stolen dates, clandestine texts, hurried phone calls, everything happened under the shadow of fear of being discovered, but it was precisely that fear that amplified the thrill, the allure of this affair. I knew I was doing wrong, I knew I was betraying Ben, but I couldn't stop. I was like a moth drawn to a forbidden flame, heedless of the consequences. Our rendezvous with Nick usually took place in discreet, secluded spots, like in cars in motels, or even in the company office during quiet hours. Each meeting was a chance for me to live authentically with my desires, to experience intense emotions, things I couldn't find in my marriage with Ben. I felt like I was being liberated, living another life, a life full of color and passion. The forbidden feeling, the fear of being discovered, was also a crucial part of the allure of this relationship. Every time I secretly met Nick, I felt my heart race, adrenaline coursing through my veins as if I were participating in a dangerous but thrilling game. I knew I was playing with fire, but I couldn't resist its pull. Have you ever experienced that feeling of being both terrified and longing, both guilty and intoxicated like that? The affair with Nick was just the beginning, a door opening into a world of tempting affairs. After Nick, I had other fleeting relationships with different men in different circumstances. Each relationship brought me new experiences, different emotions and short bursts of passion. There was the man I met on a business trip, a sophisticated, mature and very charming man. We had a passionate night in a hotel, a night where I forgot all my worries, all my responsibilities, just living completely for my own feelings. There was the man I met online, a younger, free-spirited man who knew exactly how to pamper a woman. We had secret dates, late-night conversations, moments of blissful intimacy together. My affairs became more and more frequent, like a habit, an indispensable need in my life. I sought novelty, excitement, attention, admiration outside of my marriage because I couldn't find them with Ben. He was still a good husband, still loved and cared for the family, but his goodness, once again, became an invisible wall separating us. Ben remained completely oblivious to my affairs. He was too trusting, or perhaps he was too oblivious, too preoccupied with work to notice the changes in me. He lived in his own world, a world of calmness, safety, and was completely unaware of the undercurrents churning beneath the surface of our marriage. His invisibility, his lack of sensitivity, made me feel both pity and contempt. I remember once I deliberately changed my hairstyle, dressed more provocatively, wore heavier makeup to see Ben's reaction. But he completely failed to notice the difference, or if he did, he didn't make any comment. He just looked at me with indifferent eyes as if I were an inanimate object, not the wife he once loved. His invisibility made me feel like a ghost in my own home, unseen, uncared for. Ben's invisibility also manifested in his inability to ignite emotion in me. His gestures of care became kikaidiki-na, mechanical, robotic, lacking sincerity, lacking creativity, lacking romance. He no longer knew how to make me laugh, no longer knew how to surprise me, no longer knew how to make me feel loved, feel cherished. His emotional impotence made me feel like I was living in a withered, lifeless marriage. Have you ever felt like you were living next to an invisible person, even though they were right beside you? My double life continued for a while, but then the moment came when I felt tired, exhausted. The fleeting affairs no longer brought me the satisfaction, the excitement they once did. I began to feel empty, lonely, and guilty. I realized that I was running away from myself, from the real problems in my marriage, not seeking happiness. One day I decided to face the truth. I knew that I couldn't continue living a lie, couldn't continue hurting Ben and myself. I needed to change, needed to make a difficult but necessary choice. I decided to confess everything to Ben, tell him about my affairs, about my unmet desires, about his impotence. That evening when Ben came home, I waited for him in the living room. I looked straight into his eyes and said, "Ben, we need to talk. I have something to confess to you." My voice trembled but was resolute. I told him everything, holding nothing back. I saw the shock, the pain, and the disappointment clearly etched on his face. He listened in silence, without interrupting, without reacting, only his eyes welled up with tears and teardrops streamed down his cheeks. When I finished speaking, the whole room fell into heavy silence. Ben remained silent, saying not a word. I looked at him, waiting for a reaction, a reproach, a burst of anger. But he remained silent, a silence that was terrifying and hopeless. Finally he spoke, his voice hoarse, choked with emotion. "Why? Why did you do this to me? What did I do wrong?" I didn't know how to answer him. I knew that I had hurt him deeply and no words could make up for it. I could only apologize for my selfishness, apologize for my betrayal, apologize for shattering our marriage. Ben remained silent, shaking his head, then walked away into the bedroom, slamming the door shut. I knew that our marriage was truly over. His impotence, his invisibility, had pushed me away from him and led to this inevitable breakup. In the days that followed, our life became tense and suffocating. Ben avoided me, didn't talk, didn't eat meals with me. He lived in his own world, a world of pain and disappointment. I knew that he was deeply hurting, but I didn't know how to soothe his pain. I had hurt him too deeply and nothing could heal that wound. Finally, Ben suggested divorce. I wasn't surprised, I knew that was the inevitable outcome. I agreed without objecting, without clinging on. I knew that neither of us could be happy in this marriage anymore. Divorce was a liberation for both of us, even if it was a painful one. The divorce process was quick and smooth. We divided the assets fairly, agreed on custody arrangements, and quickly completed the formalities. The day I held the divorce papers in my hand, I felt a mixed feeling. Both relief and loss, both freedom and loneliness. I had liberated myself from a dull marriage, from lies and guilt, but I also lost a family, a partner, and a part of my stable, familiar life. Looking back on the past, I don't regret confessing to Ben and deciding to divorce. I knew that was the only right path for me so that I could live authentically, so that I could seek true happiness. I paid a heavy price for my mistakes, I hurt many people, but I also learned bitter lessons, lessons I will never forget. The biggest lesson I learned was that communication and understanding are the foundation of every relationship. If Ben had been more open, more proactive, listened to my needs more, perhaps things would have been different. Goodness alone is not enough. A man needs to be strong, passionate, and know how to ignite the flame of love in his woman. And a woman also needs to be brave, to frankly express her feelings, her desires to her partner, instead of silently enduring and seeking fulfillment outside. I don't know what the future holds, I don't know if I will find a new love, a man who is not impotent. But I believe that I have grown, become stronger and wiser after these experiences. I will continue on my path with hope and faith in a brighter future. Thank you for listening to my story, a story that is not perfect, not beautiful, but a story that is honest from my heart. Thanks for listening. If you have a story to share, please leave a comment or send it to me. Who knows? Your story might help someone out there. Please like, subscribe and share to support the channel, it means a lot to me. Thank you so much.